Hi, this is David Odell with Odell Complete Concrete. This is part 3 of a 3-part series. I'll put part 1 and part 2 in the description, the links to those, if you care to see them, how we got to this point. But this is going to be our final pour and prep. Basically, I left that little box down at the bottom of the concrete enclosure for that sewer clean out down low to get all the trucks into this job site. Now my final truck, I'm just going to straddle it. So I brought that up to grade now. Here's the wire going in. The truck should be here momentarily. I'm stacking 2x12s lengthwise all the way down there at the city sidewalk to bring that concrete truck over. And here's what I like to do when I'm bringing a load in over a city sidewalk or apron approach, whatever it might be that I have a drop off on, because usually it'll just snap right when you drop off to the dirt or come off of that edge. There's another meter. There's a water meter right in the middle of the approach. It's unusual because this property was kind of developed in 1905, so it has 2 water meters. One water meter went for the garage, which is a garage now, but it used to be actually a residence in the back. So that water meter was for that one. It's abandoned, although there's still water there. It's shut off, but it could be reactivated if needed. We did find the main. It's underneath this driveway. So this is it, man. This is pour day. We got our come along out, all booted up. We've got Luis with us. He's multitasking. He can smoke and float simultaneously. I got Eric. He's on the wire mesh. He's pulling up wire. Doug's on the chute. And I'm on the screed. Me and Luis are going to screed this thing off. We've got a 12-foot screed that's 14 feet across. So we got to go back and forth, 1 and 1 or 2 and 2, something like that. Like we'll do 2 strokes on my side, 2 on his, and work it on down. Once I brought this truck in, on my previous 2 trucks on the previous 2 videos, I centered the truck in this driveway, because we went right over that meter box that I raised. We went over the top of it. So it was pretty compacted in the initial ruts of where the first trucks went through. But this second truck really dropped to the left. And I thought it was going to come into that picket fence, because we didn't have much space between the box and picket fence. When that thing started sinking, I was like, oh, this might be a problem. But we made it. We got back here. The concrete went fairly deep on that side. Rather than trying to regrade it and pull the wire, we just poured it deep. I'd say it was about 8 inches deep after that tire rut on the left there. Fortunately, I ordered extra concrete just to be on the safe side. So we had enough to cover for that. This is a 4-foot magnesium bull float. I'm going to get that laid down. Half of it's laid down now. And then we'll continue the second part of it. Now this is the tricky part. So I'm running the chute. Doug's out there trying to control traffic. So we got to chute pour this right into oncoming traffic, basically, which makes it a little more challenging. I put a 2x4 as close as I could to the picket fence to get a nice straight edge along there. Here's Eric passing the bull float from the backyard to the front yard, it looks like. So now that we got within about 3 feet of the end, we turned the truck sideways so that way we wouldn't be affecting the traffic as much.
Go my way 2 times. Go your way 2 times.
This was a 9-yard pour. The previous pour was 2 10s.
Think you might be getting the hang of it.
This is a 3000 psi with fiber mesh in it. You can see that little chunk out of the driveway there. That was probably from someone else that backed in here, you know, because it was dirt originally. I don't think there was ever concrete in here. So just from driving in and out, you know, with the dirt transition there, you had that concrete break off the end there. They didn't use the old 2x12 trick, in other words. There's some dirt in the concrete. Luis got that out of there. Yeah, you don't want to bull float or work dirt into the surface. Eventually it's going to come out and you're going to have a void. Now we have Luis coming up along the side between the chain link and form. This is the side against the house. Look at that brick from the old fireplace. See, they stuccoed over it. You can see that that brick's not in real good condition underneath there. If you take a look at the front of the house, that porch, that's the original brick from 1905 holding up the porch cover. That was stuccoed, but he, I don't know how he got the stucco off, but he said it took quite a while to chip that off of there to get that brick exposed again. What's interesting about this house, or I thought it was interesting anyway, as I was talking to the homeowner, I was asking him about, you know, because everything was, he left everything original in there and kind of restored it. So everything's all original, the hardwood, the walls, you know, the lath and plaster, all that. And no TV, only a radio. The funny thing about it is that at night, he can hear a TV playing old sitcoms and people laughing, but there's no TV in the house. So if you've seen part 1 and 2, you'd know that we have a saw cut underneath that plastic running the lengthwise. We did cut, you know, the short distance crossways while the concrete's wet, and I came back the next day to do a saw cut all the way down the length of it. We're making these about 10 feet across. Spacing's 10 feet, and then we'll cut down the middle. So they'll be about 7x10s. Now these joints are very difficult to cut because the poles, oh, there goes the dog through the concrete. No one's seen that happen other than the camera. So that was some interesting footage that we had to verify what actually happened, because when we went out there and we seen these holes, we weren't sure what it was exactly because we didn't see it happen until we got the camera. That dog really got buried. Hopefully she washed it off. Otherwise those hairs are going to be pretty crispy. She might have just thought he was playing in a mud puddle and not really been concerned until it got crispy and the dog froze in a stance off the leash. Here's what I was talking about on the joints, how difficult it is to cut it with obstacles on both sides. So I'm just trying to hang this out there off the edge of this enclosure. I know, it's going to probably crack off all the corners of this thing. So we'll go ahead and join it. That way we can control the joints and it will still look pretty decent. The first joiner we used was a 4-foot long, 2-inch cutter. Right here, I cut it a couple times because it didn't look straight. So that's what that other line is in there. I will be power troweling this. I power troweled the other 20 yards with this Milwaukee cordless power trowel. So I'm going to do the same technique all the way through, so that way it's really uniform between the first pour and the second pour. Here's a funny float action. And then we have Luis right behind Doug with the funny trowel. Couple of footprints here and there from trying to get through that narrow space. Here's Luis catching the edge where the new meets the existing from the first pour. And see what he did there on that joint where it comes together? Rather than just using a hand edger, he used a hand joiner. That way they all look like hand joints rather than one spot just being a regular hand edger. The jointer is a little bit wider than a hand edger would be, so you'd see the difference. In this case, it's gonna look like a joint like everywhere else rather than a separate pour. Here's Eric edging around that little box. Very difficult edging around those tight radiuses with a standard edger. They do make some edgers that are cut on 45-degree angles that'll come around those radiuses a little easier, but either way it's still difficult. The way those concrete vaults are made, they're kind of built on a taper, so when you put concrete around them they can't go down because everything's tapered, so they kind of get wedged in there. Now, if they were built straight up and down, they could actually just get pushed right down as soon as you drive over them. So here's the power trowel on here. Basically what I'm trying to do is avoid the joint from closing it up. That way we can just keep running the walking joiner whenever it does get closed. But if you hit that joint too hard, you could potentially move rock. Then the walking joiner won't open it anymore. You have to really get down there, work it out by hand at that point. So we didn't have much wind initially, but it did get windy as the day prolonged. So what we did was we put plastic on the back side of that picket fence. We layered the whole back side of that picket fence to break the wind because it was blowing out of the north heading south. So that helped a lot from the ground wind where the concrete is. Because what wind will do is, for one thing, it blows a lot of debris on the surface of the concrete. Not only that, but it'll prematurely dry the surface, so it traps the moisture underneath that top skin that dried out really quickly, and it almost separates the top from the bottom. So that's why you don't want to be pouring in the wind. So what I did here is ran the power trowel, ran the walking joiner, funny troweled it, broomed it. This was our final pass. This is a really easy technique. You can just shut the machine off in between each one. And the nice thing about it being battery powered, I don't have to pull a cord to restart it. I just press a button. So stop and starts are not a big issue with this particular machine.
Yeah.
So this is the same way we broomed the previous 20. So we're just going to continue that. Because it is so windy, I'm using a lot of curing compound. I ended up leaving the plastic up on the fence until the next day. So this is the next day we've came back. We're pulling some 2x4s, getting rid of all the plastic. There's the gap between the picket and the bottom. And I'm wiping off some of the splatters off of those picket fence. There's a little over pour. Then we're going to pressure wash all the way from the back to the front. So we're going to pressure wash all 30 yards of this after we get finished saw cutting here. So this cut's a continuation of another cut I did a couple days ago. This is the Milwaukee cordless early entry saw. Same battery as the power trowel. You could hook a vacuum to this real easily, and then you get rid of all the dust. So this turned out real nice. No puddling at all. I don't even think there was a bird bath in this one. But we had good slope. We started with about 24 inches of slope and 120 feet. So we're sitting pretty on that. Plus we have some cross slope as well. But look at that. You can't even see the seam, and it's only been 2 days since the last pour. All right. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions concerning your future project or ongoing project, get me on consultation through my website at Odell Complete Concrete. Thank you. Bye.